I get it. I should savor our victories more. I think Jesse James, who joined us in the last hour and 20 minutes, is absolutely on target. I should savor the victory more. In fact, it's that victory that politically makes it safe for so many people that have been bullied by political correctness to say, I'm Americana. I want freedom. I want prosperity. We're not liberals. We're not conservatives. What Jesse said, I'm not kissing his ass, it's true, was absolutely on target. I should take that interview and edit it down to 10 minutes, just the little nuggets he said. It's true. And I guess I haven't gotten to where he's yet, where you get lied about in thousands of articles a year, sometimes thousands a week, making stuff up about you and your family. I'm still pissed off. It's true. I need to just somehow turn it loose and just ignore it sometimes. But you know what? I just hate these people. They're a pack of lying scum. And, you know, they don't just do it because they want to sell newspapers. Because telling the truth what sells newspapers, I've experienced. They're doing it because they're a bunch of bullies and scumbags. But the mere fact, take somebody like Jesse, just the way the Lord works, who knew? I move into a place 6 months. Jesse moves in next door, get to know him. Our daughters are best friends. Things go on. He's like, hey, watch Donald Trump run. Like months before I hear it happens. The Lord works in mysterious ways. I don't mean the fake Lord at these fake churches. I mean the real God of this universe. But if Trump would have come in and been half-assed and stuff, I'd say, oh, it's better than Obama, but too bad. Just he didn't know what he was doing, another politician. The fact we got the best job numbers since 1984, the fact we got the best new business numbers, small business numbers since 1984, and the media is trying to cover that up and lie about it. The fact that he's doing everything you do other than Paul Ryan, this horrible health bill, and you know some of the people in his administration want the carbon tax. Well, of course, the Republicans made that thing up. Well, I hate the Republicans. That's why I hate Democrats pointing at me saying, oh, you're just a Republican water carrier. BS. I hate both your stinking parties. The Republicans have some good rhetoric, but they're horrible people. The Democrats have horrible rhetoric and are horrible people. The difference is rhetoric. With Trump, it's so real. It's like seeing a unicorn out in the field at dawn. You're like, well, you got a camera? Because there's a unicorn right there. Never knew this existed. This is happening. But America's a unicorn in history. A system of prosperity and freedom that's demonized and attacked that the enemy says is no good. But is the apple of the world's eye, the shining city on that hill. So Jesse and I years ago talked about this. We're both so busy that we ought to do something because we're obviously meant to do something. We're both busy. It needs to happen. But all of us need to take action and get involved. That's all I'm saying. Now, joining us for the balance of the hour is Roger Stone. I was already going to call him this morning at like 8:30, and then a text right as I'm thinking about him, as I'm brushing my teeth after breakfast. My kids have gone to school. Bzz, bzz, big breaking news. I want to come on the show today. So I'm like, okay. And it was exactly what I thought, but not from the angle I thought. Here, if you're a TV viewer, the New York Times, January 20th, we'll play the clip in a moment and go to Roger, from January 20th. Wiretap data used in inquiry of Trump aides, New York Times. Then, March 4th, Trump offering no evidence says Obama tapped his phones. They were all over the news saying, we have the wiretaps of Manafort and Stone and everybody talking to the Russians. Then they said, oh, we don't really have that. We never said we had that. So there's all this spin going on. And now Roger's giving us the exclusive. The article just went up on Infowars.com. At least I was told it's being sent 30 minutes ago. You can put that on screen. But exactly what happened. So now I get it. You talk to Guccifer, however you say it, or we talk to DC Leaks, WikiLeaks, Guccifer, or people that say they are. Flashback, New York Times admits wiretaps used against Trump. So Stone sent us the actual communique that he did have with somebody not connected to the Russians, but an independent European hacker. But the point is, this is the new level where journalists like myself or Roger Stone get reached out to by people. We talk to them, and then we're Russians. It's like saying if Trump ever talks to Putin or has a summit, he's a Russian. Presidents are supposed to meet with the Russians. This is supposed to end debate, end communication. But it's not about Roger Stone or Alex Jones or Vladimir Putin or any of these people. Now, there's the article. The smoking gun aims, fires, misses. Timeline proves Russian collusion lie. That's a great headline on Infowars.com. Just broke, but how about fake wiretap disinfo blows wide open? Roger Stone. I mean, but what he said on the 20th, and a month before that when they put another fake story, The whole 20-minute interview from right before he walked in to hear the inauguration at like 10:30 in the morning, after we battled lines of communists trying to stop us getting in, absolutely shows it all. So we'll show you his real emails and text and chats with the hacker Guccifer, who's never claimed he's with the Russians. Guccifer 1.0, I guess, is in prison. Let's play Roger Stone on the 20th saying, this New York Times is fake. This is bull. I never communicated with Russians. Now they tried to pull back and say, oh, we never even really said that. So this is a big moment. We're going to Roger Stone in a moment. Here it is. Repeat this because this is so big. All the dots just connected. When he got hit with polonium months ago, CDC got with him weeks ago. We didn't know how to respond to this and put his book way behind. Media makes, jokes about this, like, oh, yeah, you're important. Somebody hit with polonium. Meanwhile, dozens of Congress people are on TV. We've got clips of it. We put on the show saying he's the main guy between Russia and WikiLeaks, accusing him that I guess Putin gives you the info and the term crooked Hillary, and then you give it to Trump. Totally made up. But then he gets hit with polonium, and oh, he's not important. This didn't happen. It's no big deal. Meanwhile, just what you surmised after weeks of trying to figure it out, they were going to call him, but he would then rebuff it all. So they need him to be dead. And how do Russians kill their spies? Polonium. So you can see the whole setup, the whole script, but you didn't drink it all or something. You're still here. Sometimes it takes a while to kill you. We hope they failed. But I mean, Roger, this is amazing. So recap what you just said for everybody. Your statement.
Well, today, page 1, New York Times, says that the Central Intelligence Agency, the Deep State, who just won't give up flogging this horse, are claiming that they have intercepts of email communications and financial transactions between the Russians and the Trump campaign. And they name me specifically. I welcome any scrutiny because it's time to put this lie, this myth, this falsehood created by the deep state to bed once and for all. And is it incidental that they dropped this story on the day of President Donald J. Trump's inauguration? Is that incidental? No, it's an attempt to destabilize the next president of the United States.
By the way, what's crazy is all these foreign states have been caught trying to influence the election for Hillary. There's no proof of the Russians, and just like PP-gate, or just like the Russians trying to turn off the power plants, remember that a few weeks ago, all of it's lies. Later they admit it, and I read the New York Times article. They always say maybe they have, or they kind of do, or well, there's some of this chatter back and forth with no proof. So you see them leaving provisos in with their fake news, but unequivocally, have you talked to any Russians?
I've talked to no Russians. I also have heard from no federal officials to inform me that I'm formally under investigation, and no one has come forward to ask me any questions. But I live for that moment. I can't wait for that moment, because it's time to explore.
We've reposted the full interview in the article that Roger Stone has put out dealing with this, but now he knows what they were claiming, talking to a hacker who was exposing all sorts of stuff and wasn't a Russian agent. So we're going to show screenshots of all these communications, the exclusive, right now, with the former head of the Trump 2016 campaign, Roger Stone. Roger, thank you.
Alex, thanks for giving me the opportunity. Look, this is a full-out hit job. We have a piece orchestrated in the Smoking Gun that alleges that I have colluded specifically with a hacker called Guccifer 2.0. There are, I guess, allegations that he is indeed a Russian agent, and perhaps he is. What they miss is that I myself identified Guccifer 2.0 in a piece that I have written for Breitbart on August 5th, pointing out that it is my belief that it was Guccifer who actually hacked the original DNC documents, at least that portion that were hacked, because I believe others were handed off to, as by a disgruntled employee to Craig Murray, a British diplomat who has come forward to say that. But I identified Guccifer for the American public. And then 10 days later, we had a brief exchange in the direct message section of Twitter, largely because I had commented on a Twitter decision to ban him. And miraculously, glad to say, he had been suspended and he was put back into service. He was reinstated. This is an innocuous, banal conversation, largely because on Twitter one does not know if the person they're speaking to is indeed the real Guccifer.
So all they've got is a Twitter chat with someone they can't even prove is a Russian agent.
But to have collusion, Alex, I would have to have a time machine. And Putin has not yet perfected one. In other words, my communication with this alleged Russian agent happens after WikiLeaks has already leaked the DNC documents and after I, in my journalistic hat, have identified him as a leaker. This now becomes the following headline. FBI has truth of Trump discussions with the Russian agent. GQ, Raw Story, sadly, the Washington Times. It's a lynch mob, really, of disinformation. All these kind of mainstream media outlets and other kind of lefty recycle shops are posting this ad nauseum. So let the people be very clear. The FBI clearly probably has this information either because they were monitoring Mr. Guccifer 2.0 or because they were monitoring me due to the secret FISA court warrant in which the government sought and I believe got permission to surveil Donald J. Trump and Roger Stone, as well as Paul Manafort, perhaps others. This is the biggest scandal since Watergate because they are really putting the pedal to the metal since the rationale for that surveillance, Alex, has been blown apart. There is no Russian link, and this certainly is not one. So the smoking gun isn't even hot, and it's not very smoking. And I'm releasing now exclusively here on InfoWars the entire correspondence from this gentleman and I. While I may look a little bit pompous, the government looks foolish. And you can't collude with someone on an event after the fact.
Sure, so all they've got is you as a journalist talking to somebody who's not even a proven Russian agent about this, but we have them all over the New York Times on the 20th. We have you talking about it on the 20th, saying they have these wiretaps. Then they say Trump's insane. There's no wiretaps. I mean, this is crazy.
No, look, I think you were pointed out on this show back at the election when the folks around David Brock described me as a MVP in the revolution to elect Donald Trump.
That was their internal stuff that spies were able to get.
This is something I wear very proudly, but Alex, the attempt to go after me, to go after my family, with a tissue of lies, proves that these globalist swine will never stop. They are never going to recognize the democratic election of Donald Trump. What we have here is a slow motion coup. They have to be, like when one has cancer, cut out.
No, I agree. Like Jesse James, a smart guy, he's here. He thinks, hey, we've won. You know, let's be confident. I agree that we've won the hearts and minds and the great economic numbers. Clearly, you know, I guess the Russians are making America great again. No, it's Donald Trump, the American people. But they are not going to stop. Are they ineffectual, though? What do we do?
Well, first of all, I want to reiterate this because I like getting it on the record. I had never had any Russian contacts. I never heard from anyone or communicated from anyone with the Russian state, Russian intelligence, or anyone fronting for them or representing them. I don't like Russian dressing on my salad, and now I must tell you, sadly, I have stopped drinking Russian vodka because of what they might say. This whole thing is a canard, a falsehood to smear the president of the United States.
And you've never been into Russian women, because if you like Russian women, that's evil too.
Well, I didn't mention that in my list. I can appreciate Russian women, but I don't have a Russian girlfriend. Mrs. Stone would obviously not approve. So,
I mean, listen, we joke about this, but they've called me a Russian agent too, which is just unbelievable. And they're just going, Maxine Waters, who thinks Russia invaded Korea a few weeks ago, she says, oh, PP Gate's real. You know, they've got evidence of the sex with no proof. Like you said months ago, these so-called wiretaps, there's nothing there. They admit there's nothing there. The House Intelligence Committee admits it. They're just still going ahead with all of this crap in the face of the best 50-day start of any president in history.
Well, Alex, what's even more galling about the entire situation is this constant harangue against the president when they try to cover this up. Here's what must happen. We need an action plan. And therefore, I would be happy to testify for a government grand jury. I would urge the Attorney General, since he's recused himself, He should arrange for a special prosecutor. Let someone else pick the prosecutor. Let's get Mr. Brennan and Mr. Clapper and Ash Carter and all of these folks, and maybe the people at Smoking Gun, because they seem to be in receipt of hacked material. Very clearly, the fact that I had any communications with Guccifer too is known probably because of the FISA hack.
Wait a minute. Didn't you talk about Guccifer on my show before?
Yes, I did. We talked about it this at the time. So this whole thing it's a setup.
We've talked to Guccifer, but I told people make sure that's real the Guccifer. You know.
Well, look, The Hill has talked to Guccifer. I think Politico has talked to Guccifer. Are they also?
I mean, we know Hillary's talked to Lucifer.
Well, are they also collaborators? So it is. You know, I'm just not taking it. I'm going to punch back.
I agree, but let's shift gears for some fun relief. Let me see that photo of you with Speedos there. It's off camera, but I can see it. Let's see that photo with you and the lovely blonde and the Speedos. Can we?
This, of course, would be me and the world-famous Nina Hartley, a very close pal of mine.
Oh, in the camera, let's...
There we a little glare.
For those that don't know, tell people who Nina Hartley is.
Nina Hartley was one of the great, I'm not going to say is one of the great porn stars of the 70s and 80s. She was known for having...
And you were at a Bible study at that?
I met her at a gathering of free-minded individuals in California sometime in the 70s, and we became very good friends.
That was all under Russian command, though, right?
Well, when my wife and I were married in Washington, D.C., you had Governor Tom Kean, Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas, and Nina Hartley all at the same table, and the justice seemed to know who she was.
Oh, wow. But that was all Russian, though. Everybody went there because the Russians were in charge of everything.
You know, that is the irony of this, as you have pointed out, Alex. My politics comes from anti-communism.
Let's skip the break. This is too important. Keep going.
When the Russians approached me, which was a very odd thing, in the 80s when I was on the Reagan transition team, I got a handwritten letter put under the windshield of my car that said something like, Comrade Stone, you appear to be the smartest of those around Trump and a man who appreciates the finer things in life. We can help each other. Could we please?
You meant Reagan, not Trump.
Reagan, pardon, Reagan, yes. And he included his card. He was an attaché in the embassy, the Russian embassy on 16th Street. And I took that card immediately to the FBI, and I gave it to them. I gave him the letter, which they dusted, and they said, yeah, this guy's been trying to recruit people. We suggest no response, but if you hear from him again, let us know. Because I didn't respond, I never heard from him again. Do I sound like someone who would go to work for the Russians? I abhor totalitarianism. I think their system is a rotten, corrupt system. It's no different than communism. They suppress gays and Christians and Jews and women. So no, we're not in bed with Putin, but we are for the United States of America.
Well, that's right. So let's talk seriously about this. I want to believe, Jesse James, that we're absolutely dominating, winning. I know the numbers show that. My God, this economy is just insane compared to what it was. They're still trying to kill it. The jobless numbers are going down. The biggest numbers in small business startups, stock market, you know, $3 trillion. DrudgeReport.com has it all posted right now. We probably put a link up there, show for TV viewers. InfoWars has a lot of it too, but they're just like running around like rats everywhere, flipping out, threatening everybody. Everybody's a Russian. They're on the news with no proof, you know, saying that all this crazy stuff. I mean, I'm not looking for attacking them, but it's the law. They're saying kill the president. They're doing all this crap. I mean, what do we do? Or is Trump just transcending them?
I think he transcends them by staying completely focused on his agenda. And frankly, I think he has to focus on beginning to repel the impact of some of the quislings inside his own administration. I mean, in all honesty, my hat is off to the president that he's been so good on virtually every policy issue, despite the growing number of establishment Republicans and others who are not loyal to Trump or the Trump agenda that he has in his administration. I have not been shy about talking about this. I talk about it out of loyalty for and support for the president, not as a critic.
Well, sure. Let's talk Turkey then, since you raised that, Roger Stone. We have Paul Ryan replaces Obamacare insurance penalties with even larger penalties and then just laughs about it when we have the votes for a total repeal. We have appointees in White House push to keep U.S. in global climate treaty. That's just a giant turn our jobs off thing. We've got all this going on, all this happening. I know Trump's not behind that, but yeah, I mean, who are the Quislings? Who are the problems? What do you think Trump should do to Twinkle Toes over there, Mr. Blue Eyes, Mr. Paul Ryan?
Well, first of all, the good news, Alex, is that Donald Trump is the ultimate negotiator. So this bill, this health care bill, is
and he said that in a tweet. He said, let the negotiations begin, and then told Rand Paul he likes his plan.
Yeah, I mean, look, he wants to get something done. He's not married to this plan, and this plan obviously has some flaws. They could be flaws the president was not fully aware of. This looks to me like a collaboration, you know, many cooks. And I think it is not the free market-based plan that we need. But that doesn't mean that Trump won't get to that plan. He's a tough taskmaster. But this is the first example where you can see that some who are not loyal to the agenda have let their ideas creep into the action plan, and that is problematic. I'm going to be able to talk more about this tomorrow, but Steve Mnuchin, who was the Trump campaign finance chairman, the treasurer of the secretary, is at an impasse with the White House political shop over the people he wants to bring to staff the government, who are virtually, to a man and woman, liberal Democrats. In some cases, I'm going to identify a very key person, the number 2 person he'd like to put in this department, who gave money to Hillary Clinton and was an active.
So what the hell is going on here? See, my gut tells me we got to protect Trump. He's proven he's good. That makes me more precious. But my gut tells me danger, Will Robinson. My spidey sense is on. I mean, if I was like Frodo with Sting, the sword that glows when goblins are close, this thing's on fire. I can't help it.
Well, but I think if you posed this question to the president several months ago and said, Mr. President, during the campaign, you were a critic of Goldman Sachs. You pointed out how they had given $1 million secret loan to Ted Cruz. You excoriated Hillary for the fact that they gave her $765,000 for a secret speech that she would not release the transcript of. But now you have these guys from Goldman Sachs in your administration. He would say, they're very smart guys. They work for me, and the agenda will be my agenda, not their agenda. Well, you know what? As long as that is true, the president's entitled to have the men and women that.
But the leaks go on, the attacks. He hadn't got control of these agencies. I think if that's the case, I think he's wrong on that.
Well, but he wouldn't be wrong if we didn't see problems. But we already see the beginnings.
Exactly. No, it's not.
The watering down of the health care plan, the constant leaks show an elementary lesson of politics.
They're so arrogant. They're in the news trying to push carbon taxes.
Well, now this again, carbon taxes has to do with Gary Cohn. Gary Cohn, the president's chief economic advisor, knows that the boys at Goldman are essentially the receiver here. They clean up in a carbon tax. He was pushing.
They've invested billions in it.
He should be recusing himself from all of these discussions regarding the carbon tax. But this is what happens when you have a liberal Democrat who aspires to be chief of staff, I might add, as your chief economic advisor.
That's the next thing. I'm going to give you 5 minutes if you can do it before we go to the next host. The word is, like you said months ago to me, probably Priebus, the knives are out. Who would they be moving in? And I hear this Democrat would be who they brought in.
I have not heard.
Well, I mean, you were talking about the guy they're trying to get as the chief of staff. Here's the paradox. Trump's doing so good. I love him. But suddenly I see all this bad stuff being lined up.
Well, here's what you don't know. If you went from Reince Priebus to Gary Cohn as chief of staff, you'd be jumping from the frying pan into the fire.
Got it.
So that should be avoided. Priebus, I think, continues to make a series of errors. I don't think.
Who would you put in there as the chief of staff?
Well, if I named the person I wanted, that would probably get the long knives out from some of our enemies and doom their chances. So I'm not going to play my cards on national.
No, I got it.
Wars. But there are many fine quality men and women. Ed Martin's been on this program. Ed Martin was the chairman of the Missouri Republican Party. He was the Republican candidate for Attorney General. He was counsel to Pope John Paul. He was counsel to the St. Louis Archdiocese. He was the chairman of the St. Louis Elections Board. He narrowly lost the Attorney General.
Sure, the Tea Party loves him. Stay there. I mean, let's come back, though, and talk about where Trump is on Friday, the 10th day of March, 2017, because results, everything's happening. But then who he's got around him is as scary as hell. Stay with us, folks. Infowars.com. All right, we got Leanne and Owen Schroyer coming in to take over in the 4th hour. Roger Stone thinks it's a 3-minute break, so he's gone from the camera. He'll be back in a minute. I would love to be in the opposition position here and just be able to bitch about Trump all day. I study the politics. I know what's going on. I've never seen in modern times of hell, not since George Washington or Andrew Jackson. Andrew Jackson's the last time I've seen anything like this. Andrew Jackson. Of course, the president models himself after Jackson. What does that tell you? People that haven't studied the history, I'm just speaking Chinese or Greek or space alien to you, but it's outrageous that the American people who are against Trump don't know how he's doing things the elites don't want to empower you. That's why they're so pissed. It's 101. And then all this stupid Russian crap all day. It's ridiculous. So, Roger, just in closing, where would you say the American Revolution, the Second American Revolution is right now? Populism's exploding globally. We are winning on so many fronts. I can't believe being informed, watching these anti-Trump people physically assault everybody all over the country. I don't know what to even do at this point, because I just have this feeling that if we don't do something, we're going to lose. Everybody just says, sit down and relax, Alex, we're winning. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I can just take a vacation. What do you think?
No, I don't think that at all. I think, as Donald Trump said after the election, our fight has just begun. The entrenched and corrupt influences that have been running this country for 30 years are not just going to walk away from the sweetest.
Oh, they think they own us. It's the entitlement that makes me angry.
Well, and the fact that while they have promulgated policies that make the people poorer and less safe, they and their cronies have gotten fabulously wealthy. There's my central objection to this whole particular situation. Now, Alex, think about it. They said that Andrew Jackson was crude, vulgar, ignorant, poorly informed. They said that Theodore Roosevelt was an egomaniac, a lightweight, a self-promoter. Do these things sound familiar?
Yes.
You cannot judge this president.
This is what they say about mavericks that expand the United States and empower the people.
Yeah, so you have a free thinker in Trump who isn't connected in any way to the bad decisions of the last 30 years that have driven the country into the ditch. But at the same time, we know that those who control the country and the neocons, they will break the law, they will murder, they will steal, they will wiretap, they will eavesdrop, they will threaten people, they will do anything to protect what has been a very...
Exactly, and I want to physically but also politically stomp them in the ground, so what do we do?
Well, I do think that the counterpoint of these demonstrations has to be shown across the country. I think it is important that Trump supporters and Americans who support this agenda rally across the country. Yeah,
we're in the butt of our lives. Absolutely. But I agree with Jesse James. We should celebrate the victory as well. I mean, look at the delivery on jobs, man. Isn't that something to talk about?
Well, I think that's true, but you know good news gets drowned out. I think they've taken to the streets. We must go to the streets. Let's show them that we outnumber them as we did in this election.
I agree. Jesse said it. Next person punches me in the nose, I'm going to hit him right back.
Well, I was talking to Chris Ruddy at Newsmax and my friend John Tobacco about this. I think we need a series of rallies: South Carolina, Dallas, Texas, San Diego, across the country.
Austin's big too. By the way, that's a good-looking hat. Where's that from?
This hat is probably older than your oldest child, Alex. I guarantee you that.
I gotta say, this
was my father's. This was my father's Panama. As I think I told you, when he passed away, my mother sent all of his hats to me, and to my surprise, we had an identical hat size. So
what's crazy is they don't make hats like that anymore. That thing has just got like an aura to it.
Yeah, well, this was all handmade by some poor person who was not in Panama, but in Ecuador, because Panama Hats was kind of a brand name, but the finest hats were made in Ecuador. And you can crush this hat and throw it in the bag, and it will spring back to its shape.
All right. Well, thanks for the exclusives. Just unbelievable. Roger Stone, StoneColdTruth.com. We'll talk to you soon. Thank you so much, my friend.
Great to be here, Alex.
All right, we'll be back. Stay with us with Leanne and Owen Schroyer.
Talk show host is Alex Jones. He's a conspiracy theorist.
Radio talk show host Alex Jones.
Alex Jones. Jones is the wildly popular conspiracy theorist.
Radio talk show host and conspiracy theorist Alex Jones.
Deeply, I think, racist.
I just got called racist by MSNBC.